Bitter criticism, genocide dossier. I guess I will try to do the genocide dossier. Very close to, actually not that close. I'm going to try to not too close to the microphone. I'm going to try to make some acoustic. Are you listening better now? I guess you are. This could be better like this one, like this. Oh, like this. Oh. Well, genocide dossier. How Palestine is doing on Al Jazeera's genocide dossier. I'm going to try to make it in 10 minutes. I'm going to run fast. Live updates. Number of people starved to death in Israeli besieged Gaza rises to 113. If you are hungry, you are not starving. Palestinians wait to receive food from a charity kitchen amid a hunger crisis in Gaza City, July 24. Israel says it is examining Hamas' response to the latest truce proposal submitted to mediators. All this by Virginia Pietromarchi, Gillian Kessler Damours on July 24, 2025. Updated 10 hours ago. Hospitals in the besieged Gaza Strip have recovered 2 more deaths, quote-unquote, due to famine and malnutrition in the past 24 hours, according to the territory's health ministry, bringing the total to at least 113. Israel has recalled its ceasefire negotiating team for consultation after Hamas submitted a response to a proposed Gaza ceasefire deal to mediators. The response reportedly includes amendments to conditions around the entry of aid, areas from which the Israeli army should withdraw, and guarantees on securing a permanent end to the war. Israel's war on Gaza has killed at least 59,587 people and wounded 143,498. An estimated 1,139 people were killed in Israel during the October 7, 2023 attacks, and more than 200 were taken captive in what was the worst military campaign in history. Who knows? 6 minutes ago, Thursday, July 24. Tip of the iceberg, starvation deaths increasing in Gaza. Al Jazeera's Hani Mahmoud says starvation deaths in Gaza are increasing at a frightening pace. This is the tip of the iceberg, Mahmoud reported from Gaza City, noting that people of all ages, including children and the elderly, have been transferred to hospitals due to malnutrition. He added that the now infamous US and Israeli-backed GHF-8 distribution scheme has exacerbated the crisis. As we have been reporting, hundreds of Palestinians have been killed while seeking aid since the GHF began operating in Gaza in May. Quote, people are trying to buy whatever they can get their hands on to survive, Mahmoud said. Yeah, I saw some videos. People are starving, just like they say. They are desperate. Like there was a lot of people carrying a ball, desperate to eat something. 21 minutes ago. What happens when you don't eat for days? By Ali Harb. Hasharf Abu LS, a US-based physician with the advocacy group Doctors Against Genocide, warns that a lack of food can be especially deadly for children. Abu LS said, if aid and medical supplies do not enter Gaza promptly, the Israeli-imposed hunger crisis may lead to mass casualties. He said that with starvation, the body starts to use nutrients stored in the liver. Quote, once you start depleting this, you start going into electrolyte imbalances as well as organ failures, and you end up dying. Abu LS told Al Jazeera, quote, and children are the most vulnerable group of patients that can be affected. End quote. The doctor said in hasty reintroduction of food into starved people's systems without health supervision can also lead to health complications. Quote, I think the Israelis know that well, and that's why they are trying to starve them. Definitely, Israel, they are so evil. 26 minutes ago, families are breaking down, unable to survive. UNRWA. The head of the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, UNRWA, has warned that, quote, when child malnutrition surges, coping mechanisms fail, access to food and care disappears, and famine silently begins to unfold. Quote, parents are too hungry to care for their children. Philip Lazzarini said in a post on X, those who reach UNRWA clinics don't have the energy, food, or means to follow medical advice. Yeah, terrible. He said the agency has 6,000 trucks loaded with humanitarian supplies in Jordan and Egypt ready to enter Gaza. Quote, allow humanitarian partners to bring unrestricted and uninterrupted humanitarian assistance to Gaza, Lazzarini said. 36 minutes ago, Israel preventing UN from verifying Gaza aid awaiting distribution, OCHA. The United Nations says it does not know how many truckloads of aid are awaiting distribution inside the Gaza border because Israel has not granted it access. Quote, despite the repeated requests, Israel has not allowed the UN to be present at the crossing, which are militarized areas. Jen Lerke, spokesman for the UN Humanitarian Agency, OCHA, told the AFP news agency, we therefore cannot verify the amount of supplies currently at the crossing. Laerke explained that the UN needed multiple authorizations from the Israeli authorities. First, to get aid across the border from Israel into the Gaza Strip, where it is dropped off, with the trucks returning to Israel, then to drive trucks from inside Gaza to the crossing point to pick up aid. Quote, it is very important to stress that it is not just about denials of requests to pick up the cargo, he added. Israel, as the occupying power and a party to the conflict, must facilitate humanitarian operations all the way till it reaches people who need it to survive, end quote. This means that beyond simply authorization, quote, they must provide the green light for trucks without unnecessary delays, allow teams to use multiple safer routes, and order troops to stay away from the convoys, and never shoot a civilian along the allocated routes or anywhere else, Lerke explained. Quote, without the full set of conditions in place, safe and principled delivery cannot take place at scale. So even when approved, those missions are often impeded on the ground. And finally, 1 hour ago, starvation as a weapon. Scholar links Israeli practices to war crimes and genocide. I have more 3 minutes. After there was a photograph of a children, Palestinian mothers sit with their malnourished children as they await treatment in Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip on July 24. But I'm going to continue. Starvation as a weapon. Scholar links Israeli practices to war crimes and genocide. Omer Bartov, professor of Holocaust and Genocide Studies at Brown University, says Israel is using starvation as a weapon of war, a war crime, and an act that is part of that constitutes the commission of genocide. Quote, there is now an attempt at least genocide resolution from 1948 says, from deliberately inflicting on Palestinians conditions of life calculated to bring about the physical destruction in whole or in part. This is Section 3 of the Genocide Convention, Bartov told Al Jazeera. Quote, so clearly this is part of an attempt to make life impossible for Palestinians, either to force them out or simply to see them dying where they are, end quote. He said, highlighting that the International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant also for using starvation as a tool of war. Well, I only have, well, that's it. I just have 10 seconds. That's it. Genocide is going on.